trying to make these damn videos, people honking out the damn window. Can you shut the hell up? God, this city's annoying. It's so noisy sometimes. Look at it, you hear them? They're excited for this video. That's what's happening. Anywho, we are revisiting. Today is the 23rd, December 23rd. There are no games tomorrow for Christmas Eve. We are shooting it on the 23rd, but you will see this video on Christmas Day. This is going to be our mid-season-ish. I mean, All-Star break is traditionally considered the mid-season, but while the teams are playing for Christmas, the Bucks just complained. Giannis just complained that he's not on Christmas. Just won $500,000. Never happy, Giannis. Anyway, but let's go over. I'll put this on the screen. The Spurs against the Knicks at 12 o'clock, MSG. Minnesota versus the Mavericks. I'm sure the NBA wish they had that back. Minnesota's garbage. Philadelphia at Boston. I know the NBA wish they had that back. Philadelphia is garbage. Lakers at Golden State. Both teams have been mid for quite a bit. They both have won championships in the last 5 years, but they're both mid this year again. And then Denver and Phoenix, two more mid teams. So this is really not going to be a good Christmas. I just didn't think about this until now. Dallas, Minnesota. Dallas is going to blow them out. Celtics are going to blow out the Sixers. Who cares with the Warriors and the Lakers? And who cares with the Suns and the Nuggets? Knicks and Spurs. I mean, Knicks are playing well. Wemby, I guess maybe. But I don't know about the national audience getting up to watch that. So this is going to be probably a terrible rated Christmas Day, and it's through no fault of their own, through injuries and ineptness. Anywho, so I have it on the screen now, but in case it doesn't look right or whatever, I can just crop in a picture on top of it. We are going for our Tiers edition. Obviously, there's been a lot of injuries. There's been a lot of surprise teams, surprise players in the NBA season, as there is every year. So we have to reassess our preseason decisions. And as you can see from our predictions from October 3rd, before the season even started, we have the Knicks, the Celtics, the Thunder, and the Mavs on top. I don't know if it's going to change. We're going to go on a case-by-case situation, and we're going to check out. And as you can see, we have the championship contenders. We have about the conference finalists, give or take, or like, the close, but maybe next year type teams. They're still building. We have playoff teams, solid playoff teams. And then we have the play-in teams. They may borderline on playoffs, or they may borderline on outside the play-in. They're in that, I don't know what's happening with my hand. I don't know what's happening. They're on that borderline as if they're going to make it or not. And then we have the teams that are tanking. Dennis Schroeder getting traded for the Nets when he has been their best player, off to a surprise start. Should tell you what the Nets' priorities are this year. We're going to do this time East to West. East is the weaker conference, so we're going to start with the East, and then we'll do the West, because I noticed doing the video last time, I got to separate, I got to bifurcate, I got to split it in half, and it's easier to do two videos, one East, one West. Who cares? You don't care. Whatever. You're just watching this because you're having fun. Anywho, Milwaukee, they just won the in-season tournament, like I said. Giannis is not happy that they're not on Christmas. They've beaten up on a lot of bad teams. They got really lucky in that in-season tournament. The Knicks got bumped by the Hawks because the Hawks have owned them, the Celtics and the Cavs, even though they suck against everybody else. God only knows what kind of voodoo the Hawks are doing. You do not want to face this team if you're a 1-3 Eastern Conference team. I would not want to face this team in the playoffs, and I warned everybody in one of my videos to not take the Hawks lightly. The Knicks didn't, they just choked, but do not take the Hawks lightly. But anyway, we're talking about the Bucks. Giannis has had a resurgent year. They won the second inaugural in-season cup. Shout out Darvin Ham. He went undefeated with the Lakers and won the first in-season tournament. He went undefeated with the Bucks and won the second in-season tournament. So he has the greatest coaching record of all time in the NBA Cup. All hail Darvin Ham. But for the Bucks, they have been disappointing. They have had a middling type of year. They have not been impressive. They still don't have any kind of perimeter defense. They are still old. They are still over the cap. They're not going to win a championship. Giannis has been dragging this team just to be mediocre. So we're going to put them here as a solid playoff team. They're not even a conference finalist, I don't think. I don't think that they're ahead of the Cavs, the Celtics, or anybody else. So this is as solid a team to put in the playoffs as you can put would be the Bucks. So we're gonna have them right there. The Nets, as I just said, traded Dennis Schroeder to the Warriors. They were a surprise team. I want to say they were 4 or 5 games under 500. They had a real shot. Nah, I'm joking. They didn't have a real shot, but I think they could have sniffed around the play-in team. Why sniff when you can just tank? Just jump right into the toilet bowl and tank all the way. So now they only have one real person that can handle the ball. Cam Thomas is out for a few weeks. Is Ben Simmons, and you know Ben Simmons' story. It's going to be on a Lifetime movie one day. But they are the tankiest of tanking teams. They are going nowhere but to the lottery. The Knicks. Now with the Knicks, I had them under championship contention. I have downgraded them to close, but maybe next year. And you look at the Celtics with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum at their core. Remember the first iteration with Marcus Smart? Al Horford, I think, was there twice. This is his second time that he's there. So it takes time, is my point. You're not going to win something on the first year of putting so much together with Cat and Mikal Bridges. And we're seeing this with losses to the Hawks, with losses to the Bulls at home by one point, and they were getting blown out in that game. They have had some terrible losses. They're winning. They're playing well now. I think they're about 18 or 19 and 10. They're going to play in a little bit. That's why we're doing this video now, right before the game starts. But they are close, but it just... That bench is one of the worst benches in the NBA in terms of minutes and points per game. Tibbs is playing his starters something like an extra 100 minutes next to the next close starting group. He is taxing this starting lineup, and they're all good. And if you look at the rotations are fair. I think the only person that could complain about his minutes is Mikal Bridges. He is playing him at like Will Chamberlain one year averaged like 49 minutes a year because he played in every minute of every game, including overtime. Mikal could do that. He will play Mikal for the first quarter of each half and half of the second quarter, and then rest him for 2 minutes and then bring him back. So he's getting about 4 minutes of rest. Landry Shamet coming back should help with that, maybe, but Mikal is in raring form. He's playing really well. Cat is playing really well. Jalen Brunson is playing really well. So OG is playing really well in the defensive end. Josh Hart is playing really well. So they have a bona fide starting lineup, but I do not think this is a championship team anymore. The Raptors are, you know what? No, they're tanking, but they're trying hard. I give them credit. They've played some really close games. They've had too many injuries. Bruce Brown, Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett. They're playing, they're playing the best that they can. They're really trying, and that's a good sign for the head coach that they're trying as hard as they are, but they need some more draft pick. All right, I looked online and it says that the Raptors own their own pick, so it's better that they keep losing. If they get Emmanuel Quickley back, Bruce Brown back, Kelly Olynyk playing, and all their players playing, they could jump up, and they may consider trading a few of those assets because they're going to want to punt and get a good draft pick. I don't think they want to win, but they may be able to bump up and go into the outside the play-in. I just don't think it's smart for them. Next Eastern Conference team we have is the Bulls, and surprisingly they are a play-in team. It depends on their sell-off. I do think that they have played way above expectations. Like I said, they won in New York. They have beaten Boston. They have been a high-octane offensive team. They shoot not many threes, but that one game against Boston was an absolute atrocity. So they have a very good potential of, I don't know, surprising teams. I think they can get into the play-in tournament. I do think this team is good, but it depends on what they're going to do. If Zach LaVine is playing so well, Lonzo Ball, they traded Alex Caruso in the offseason. They're going to want to flip some of these vets, even though in recent years they have not cared about trading people, which has been weird. They didn't trade DeMar DeRozan when they had the chance, and getting a few draft picks. They have Josh Giddey, which is good. He's going to need an extension. So look for them to flip a couple of their vets. And if not, they'll stand pat and they'll be around here. But if they flip them, then they're definitely going to go into the tank mode. Next team we have is the Pistons. They're outside of the play-in right now. They have played really well as well. I mean, last year, I think they already matched their total of wins last year, or they're close to it, some crazy thing. They have played really well. They played tough. I had to look that up as well. JB Bickerstaff, I always forget. I know his father coached in the NBA, but he's been doing a good job. He was bounced by the Cavs. He took the Detroit job after Monty Williams crashed out after 1 year. Monty Williams is paid doing nothing, feet up in the water. But they have played really well, above expectations. They've played tough. They've added Tobias Harris and Tim Hardaway Jr. to their young core. I don't see them making any moves. They did drop somebody, and apparently they're trying to they're getting ready for a trade. They usually what they do, and they did this with the Knicks to help facilitate the Jalen Brunson signing. They'll take on your bad contracts if you're compensating them with draft picks. They love taking these terrible contracts, and it's good business sense. I'm like, we got the cap space. Nobody wants to come to Detroit. Park your crap here, and slide us $20. I mean, similar to that, give us a first-round pick, give us a couple of seconds. So Detroit is playing very smart. They're going to continue building that way. They're not going to be in the lottery next year. So, in 2025, which is great for them because they've been losing for so long. There's only so many times that you can tank. They're really trying to make an effort to build up their roster, and good for them, but they're still outside the play-in. The Cavaliers, I mean, I know that most people are going to say they're a championship team, but I'm not going to go there yet. I think this is a fraud team. This is the same roster that they had that the Knicks bumped easily. They have been lucky because a lot of teams have had a lot of turnover. They've been impressive. I don't want to shit on the Cavs. They've been impressive, but it's through stability. Now, is this stability going to translate into the playoffs? Donovan Mitchell has never been a peak playoff performer, even though he's had 50, 60-point games. I get it, but his ceiling has always been the second round. Can he lead a team? Darius Garland's been playing really well. Evan Mobley's been playing really well. Jared Allen's been playing really well. But if they get bullied by the Celtics or the Knicks or somebody else, I think it's extremely possible. They have not faced Mitchell Robinson yet. He absolutely owned the Cavs when they beat them 4-1, when the Knicks beat them 4-1. I just feel like the only reason that they started as hot as they did is because of stability, and everybody else made moves, obviously except for the Celtics. So I don't see them as a championship contender yet. I don't think they're going to beat the Celtics. I honestly don't even think they can beat the Knicks, or it's going to be close. It would be a 7-game series. So they're on the same tier as the Knicks, but they haven't ascended to that top tier yet. I wish. We have our first championship contender. We have the Celtics here at the top. They are considered by most people the creme de la creme of the entire NBA, not just the Eastern Conference. They've been shooting way too many threes though recently. I'm getting criticized for it, but if they're winning games, who the hell cares? They've been stymied a few times. Chicago's beaten them. I think the Cavs beat them once. So you can beat them, you just have to outshoot them. So you have to be willing to take 40, 50. You have to play their game and be better at it than them. I think is the formula for that. They got KP back, but I don't think he's made much of a difference yet per se. I feel like it's negligible or marginal between him and Al Horford for whatever reason. So maybe he's not the ace in the sleeve, I guess, as it were. They are a championship contender, and you see that they're one tier above the Knicks and the Cavs. But again, they have their flaws. They were able to break out last year for the first time. Who's to say they're going to do it again? And again, when their three-point shot is not falling, they don't seem to know how to win any other way. They can be beaten. Can you beat them 4 times though? That's the question. Do you have the stamina to be able to beat them? And knowing the Celtics, they're going to be able to beat you at your place. You're probably going to have to beat the Celtics. You're probably going to have to win in Boston twice. Can any team in the Eastern Conference do that? And that's to be determined. This is the most shocking. This is the most shocking. I knew the Sixers needed time to gel. I said that ESPN was glazing them like crazy. All them, they're better than the Knicks and blah, 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 blah. These talking heads, these morons that don't watch basketball like the regular fan does. I knew that they were if not at the Knicks level, then a level below, because again, they had even more turnover. And Embiid has rarely, if ever, been healthy over the last 3 to 5 years, even since college. Paul George let go for nothing by the Clippers because of his injury history. Absolute ass. The only one on that team with any promise and any ability to play is Maxey. The what's his name? Jared McCain, phenomenal. Tears a ligament in his leg. I think he's out for the year. Maybe it's a few months, whatever it is. They're one bright light. This kid was unbelievable. I think he was going to be the rookie of the year. Injured, I think out, if not the whole year, then most of the year. So they are in full tank mode. They need to get their draft pick to be, because this is going to be the last high pick that they have for a long time. There's even been whispers about moving on from Embiid. I think it's a smart idea. If you can get any value for him at all, he's too injured too often. Send him to the Western Conference. Send him to OKC. Get back Hartenstein. Get back, see if you can get Chet Holmgren from them, something. Get a few really good, dependable vets, some nice draft capital, and move on. I just think the ship has sailed with the Sixers. I think they need to go young. They need to move on, and they may be pivoting there. I think they're giving their season maybe another month and a half before they pull the trigger, right before the All-Star break in February. So I think they'll give them until January to see if they can get healthy. I think they got to move on. We'll see, but in my opinion, they're in full tank mode. The Hornets right now, I think honestly are in probably a little bit outside the play-in. If I had to put a gun to my head, but what I'm going to say is they're right now, I would put them a tier above, but because of the fact that I know that they're going to be outside of it, and they're known to rest their players at the end of the year, and they're known to tanking. So there's a very good possibility that they'll be muddling around, and then they're going to decide to rest everybody. They'll have mysterious injuries and all this crap because they're going to want a good draft pick. There's just a lot of studs this year. It does not make sense to middle around. Like they're playing hard-ish. I don't even know. With the Hornets, they play hard-ish. LaMelo throws a few lobs to Miles, and Brandon Miller gets a few corner threes, and then the crowd is going crazy, and they still lose by 10, 15 points. So I think this is a team that needs to tank. At best, they're going to be an outside play-in team. I don't see them making the play-in at the top 10 seeds. I don't see them doing that. So we'll see what happens. If there was a tier below the Cooper Flex sweepstakes, like, I don't know, like Australia, like down under, if we could put another tier underneath, say Australia, and then below that put like hell, that's where the Wizards are. They're in the deepest parts of hell. They're gonna have to do a fire sale now, apparently. Kyle Kuzma is on the trading block. Jordan Poole can be moved. I mean, they took Jordan Poole on as compensation, but they're ready to move on from him. Valanciunas was it what they called him? They called him a free agent trade exception. Basically signed him with a very manageable contract, 3 years, I think $30 million, and every team is going to want to have him. They have Malcolm Brogdon, so they have a lot of pieces. So as far deep in hell or in the abyss, or not even, it's not the abyss, because you know where you are with the abyss. It is the deepest core. They're just really, really low. They're willing to go lower and do a fire sale. This team, honestly, could not compete with a G League team. This is an awful, awful team. So out of all the teams and all of this, they are by far the most tankiest tank mode that you can ever imagine. I can't even use the adjectives of the worst to describe how terrible the Wizards are. They are god awful. I think they may have 2 wins. They're an abomination. They are repugnant. Okay, they're a foul odor stench that you can't get out of your nose. Out of your nose. They just let's end the season for the Wizards. If this was an animal or person, you'd put them out their misery. It's just a disgrace, absolute disgrace. This is so sad with the Magic, and they are a big rival for the Knicks. I am kind of traumatized for them because this team They bust the Knicks ass every single time they play us because they play like us. But they're young. It feels like they're younger. I feel, the Knicks are young too. They are physical, long. They hit you with a bucket of pennies, and when you're picking up your teeth, they hit you with a bucket of quarters. The Magic are what the Pistons were back in the heyday. They hit you hard. They're playing football out there. Jalen Suggs, former football player, he's playing football out there. But that's all they have left is Jalen Suggs. Paolo Banchero, oblique injury. I think he's been out a month and a half. Franz Wagner, the same oblique injury. And honestly, as a side, I'm not going to say it's the trainer's fault, but me as an owner, I'm firing the whole training staff because how do you... I think I may have heard of that injury maybe 3 to 4 times in my life in the NBA. Maybe it's more of an NFL injury. Two franchise players, because they both got franchise money, and Paolo and Franz Wagner got the same injury. What's going on in Orlando? They lost them to Mo Wagner, the brother of Franz. He has been the best bench player in the NBA. He took even a bigger leap when Franz and Paolo went out. He became the leader of the team. He's out for the season. I think he tore ACL, something along those lines. He tore a ligament. But this team plays so hard, and they still have a lot of young talent. Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs, like I said, Jonathan Isaac. They have a good core. So as bad as the East is, this is still a play-in team. I would venture to say that they're probably borderline playoff, okay? But I think because of their injuries, that stamina may not keep up. So I'm going to put them in the play-in range, bottom half of the playoffs. There's an in-between playoffs and play-in. The Magic are right there, even with all their injuries. That's how good of a roster, how deep that team is. The Miami Heat, and listen, the East is just garbage this year. The Miami Heat are looking to trade Jimmy Butler. They've had Jimmy Butler for quite a while, but I don't think they're gonna have any takers on him. He has a player option after this year. He's getting 55, 54, 52 million this year, and he has an option and he's probably gonna exercise that option because bad attitude, team chemistry issues. He's been on good behavior this year. Terrible contract. For the amount of money that they're paying him, he at this point is a rotational player, but he's always injured. So they are looking to trade. If they could trade him anywhere, they would. But I think the only trade they could potentially do is Bradley Beal. And the only contract worse than Jimmy Butler is Bradley Beal. On top of the fact that Bradley Beal has a no trade provision in his contract, and he's shorter and he cannot defend like Jimmy can, and he doesn't pass either. He can shoot it, that's it. So they're not going to make that trade. So it looks like Jimmy's going to stay with the Heat. That's what it feels like. I don't think Golden State can get him. I don't think maybe the Lakers could get him. I don't even know who they would put in that deal to get him. It's a huge contract. They need to do more. I think the NBA needs to do more contracts where if you have space on your thing, it doesn't have to be a dollar for dollar trade. So in other words, if the Pistons have $20 million in space, they can trade him for somebody making, let's say, $34 million plus the $20 million, and they can absorb him into the cap space, obviously at a premium, and allow the other team to kind of get off of that contract. I don't think they'll ever allow it, but it would be nice if they were to be a little bit more flexible, especially since the NBA is becoming so tight with trade provisions. Anywho, that's just me spouting. But they have Tyler Hero. Shout out Tyler Hero. He's going to be an all-star this year. He's had the year of his career. He has everything they said. And just a reminder, the Blazers are probably, or they might be, regretting that trade with the Milwaukee Bucks because Tyler Hero was in that offer and they didn't believe in him, and Tyler Hero has become that dude. And imagine him right now on Portland instead of whatever draft picks they got that have not materialized. Scoot Henderson is garbage. Well, we'll talk about Scoot later. But anyway, Miami Heat, if they don't trade Jimmy Butler, they might move around the periphery. Duncan Robinson here. They might move Tyler if they can get a really good package because he's at his highest value. But maybe they want an all-star to represent him. Who knows? We'll see. The Hawks, I'm going to put them as a playoff team. I think they're probably borderline play-in team, but I'm going to give them a slight edge because of their ability to win big games. And I think at the end of the year, when you need to win those play-in games, those must-win games at the end of the year, the Hawks have proven they won the first round of the NBA in-season tournament. They played hard against the Milwaukee Bucks. Like I said, and I've said a multitude of times, they beat the Celtics in Boston without Trae Young in the NBA Cup. They beat Cavaliers twice, once in the NBA Cup, once in the regular season. They beat the Knicks in MSG again with Trae Young in the NBA in-season cup. So they have that bravado that they can win at any time, and they can win those tough games. Dyson Daniels has been phenomenal. Borderline all-star. He's been that good. I mean, he's not going to make it. Trae Young and Jalen Johnson are ahead of him on the pecking order. I won't even say he's borderline. He's definitely all-NBA first defensive team potential. I think he's going to get there this year, either first or second team. He has to be in the first. He has been a revolutionary type defensive player this year. He's been OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, any of those elite wing defenders, Jonathan Isaac. He's been that good. Steals, getting in the passing lane. He shut down Jalen Brunson. They put him on the toughest player, and he usually shuts them down. So shout out Dyson Daniels. He's having he's looking at making a $200 million contract. I don't know when his contract is up, but I'd be high-fiving if I was his agents. He's had a phenomenal year. I'm gonna put them, and I know I could put the Pacers higher, but I'm gonna put them outside the play-in. They've had one of the worst starts to a year that I can remember Indiana having in quite a long time. And this is a team that went to the conference final. Knicks fans obviously salty as hell because their whole team was injured, and the Pacers beat them in game 7 of the semifinals. Said they were a fluke. Indiana said, no, we're not. They were talking their junk. They got swept by Boston, did nothing. And they have started the way most people that do not like that fan base and that team knew that they were going to play. Tyrese Halliburton, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he was taking it easy in the offseason. I don't know if he's having, personal problems, girlfriend problems, whatever it is. He has played like absolute ass recently. In the last 2 weeks, he has played still below his peak all-star level, but better than he was in the beginning of the year. So I think a high-end starter maybe, but not an all-star is where he's at. And he was breaking records in terms of his efficiency with three-point shooting, with free throw shooting, with passing, a new coming of Magic and all this other stuff. And he seemed deflated. He seems like his ego and everything that he's had has been kind of tempered down, I guess is the word. He's just been absolutely humbled. That's the word. He's been humbled at how bad he's played. So yeah, but I think that they're gonna turn it around. I think they're just too many pieces there. They're trying to go obviously for the playoffs. I can see them making the play-in tournament very much. I said outside here just because of such the ditch that they're in right now. But I think if we do another tiers list a little bit later on in the year, let's say March, April, something like that, I think they have a good chance at being a playoff, play-in type team in that hunt. But as of right now, because of that ditch, and also the ability of Tyrese to get injured, they're forcing him to play so he can make his 65 games, and he can make his contract so that he can get the full max. And I think that's what they're pushing him, not him, but his agents and everybody else. They're like, you got to limp out on the court, limp out on the court. And that's the consequences when you put those provisions of having to play 65 games. These guys, they need these awards to get the supermax. So if they don't make it, that's imagine losing $40-50 million because of you pulled a hamstring. I'm going to limp my ass out. I'll drag my ass out on the court. And I think that's what Tyrese was doing. He made it exacerbated it worse. Who knows? We don't know. Whatever. Anywho, that's the Eastern Conference. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I don't see anything else here. No, that's the Eastern Conference. We're going to do the West now. If you're watching YouTube, then you'll see the West tomorrow, but it's just me here. So here comes the West.